and companies manage and maintain all of their external relationships by scanning email inboxes and social communications and proactively reminding you to keep in touch. Walt Speed sets up a couple final announcements for you. The next meetup is going to be Tuesday, July 17th, same time, same place, 6:45 to 9 p.m. The after party this week is going to be moved, actually, because our usual spot doesn't have a TV, and I'm sure many people, such as myself from Miami, want to see the Heat Finals game. It will be at BXL Belgian Cafe. It's on 125 West 43rd, so it's a block up between 6th and Broadway. And if you'd be interested in sponsoring some of the drinks, presenting at a future meetup, once again, please see me, Ian, or Ruby, and we can speak to you further. So,
awesome. Thank you. Hey everyone, thanks for having me. Myself and my co-founder Tony come from a long, far away land called Washington, D.C. So we are the founders of Contactually. Now, of course, after this, I'm sure throughout the course of the night, you probably met a lot of useful people, and maybe that will lead to a job or a new gig or a new opportunity somewhere down the line. I know running a business for a number of years, my relationships were incredibly important to me. But I really had no way to actually manage all these relationships and manage who I was talking to because I was so busy focusing on that top 1% of my inbox that I'd forget the person I spoke to 2 weeks ago. And as we meet more and more people and rely more and more on online communications, that becomes ever more present. And so we built Contactually to help solve this problem. Really looking at your existing communications, helping look at who you're talking to, and most importantly, who you're not talking to. So let's kind of jump straight into our demo. So when you log into Contactually and the screen is a little bit small, you'll start to see some of the information that we're gathering about you. So just by connecting my email accounts, and we work with pretty much every email system out there and every email server, we start to get a sense of your overall communication patterns day over day and week over week. I start to see who I've been in touch with most over the past week. I start to see my progress, which I'll get into in a second. But most importantly is really what we're actually telling you to do. Because you may be keeping in touch with so many different people that you realize that you're starting to lose touch with people that actually matter. Like the investor that you haven't spoken to in 3 weeks, or that really useful entrepreneur that you met at the last New York Enterprise Tech Meetup, but it's been 6 months since you last spoke to them. And so what we can do is we can really look at your email communications and other social communications like LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, etc., and start to get a sense of, all right, who you're talking to, and then start to come up with recommendations of who you're falling out of touch with. So, for example, Sarah is someone that I haven't spoken to since April 10th, but we were in touch a lot in the past, so maybe that's someone I should follow up with. So that I can choose to follow up with her directly within Contactually, or I can also log into my normal email account and send her a message. I'll be able to see my past email conversations with her. I'll be able to quickly write her a message, see other social communication information about them. So over time, we'll start to see that we build up this rich profile of who you're emailing and when. So for example, Levi is a financial advisor I've worked with in the past. I see that I've kept in touch with them pretty often. I actually spoke to them 1,500 times overall. Contactually, just by me emailing them a few times, was able to start pulling in other social profile information. And we can actually even look at your email signature and pull out phone numbers, job titles, other things, just by looking at the emails that are being sent to you. I can see recent email conversations I've had, and I can actually even record other methods. So, for example, I actually met Levi in person last month, and that gets saved as part of my communication record. Now, I can also start telling Contactually more information about them. Now, that's kind of one of the key parts of our system is the ability to group people. So based on your different role or job title or what you want to do career-wise, you probably have a few different groups of people. So for example, for me as CEO of the company, I have current investors, potential investors, vendors, acquirers, things like that. And so I want to make sure that I keep in touch with these different groups of people. I also have like hot leads, cold leads, etc., because I also do sales as well. So I can start to set up buckets of people. And for each, and you can customize these however you want. And I can start dragging and dropping recent contacts I've had into these different buckets. Now, okay, fine, it's cool, it's a way of categorizing your contacts, but what can you actually do with that? So for example, I want to make sure that I keep in touch with all of my leads pretty often. So you know what? I'm going to tell Contactually, make sure, actually it's a bad example. Contactually, make sure that I keep in touch with all of my hot leads every 10 days. And that's kind of some of the real magic of the system, because we can look at all of your communications and see if I've been out of touch with any of my leads for more than 10 days. Contactually will send me a reminder that morning, and it'll also show up on my dashboard here saying, hey, this is someone that you should talk to today. And through that system, you can manage an infinite number of contacts. So rather than focusing on the 5 or 10 people that are really top of mind for you, I can now manage hundreds or thousands of different relationships. So I can see all the different options. So I can easily add new buckets. I can set the different rules, and I can even choose to share these contacts with my CRM. So we're compatible with Salesforce, HighRise, Sugar CRM, as well as other tools like MailChimp and Google Contacts, etc. So we can sync all that information to all those third-party services as well. But since we're in an enterprise tech meetup, let's start talking about some of the deeper information we can do. So, for example, I'm CEO of the company, but Tony also does a lot of sales and business development for us. So we want to be able to share back and forth all the different leads that we're working with. And he also wants to keep in touch with some of our investors and overall get a sense of, all right, who are all the relationships that are important to our company. And that's how the team functionality starts going in. So you can set up groupings within your company, and I can see, for example, across our entire company, who are all the leads that we're managing and how often we're in touch with them. I can see all the top contacts we have. I can see all of our current clients, etc., and I can make sure that all our relationships across the entire organization are healthy. I can, on a moment-by-moment basis, I can see, if we zoom in over here, I can see how my team has been performing over the course of the day. So I can see that I've completed 1 action, Pollock's completed 2, Tony's completed 1. I can see how many people we're reaching out to and start to compare progress back and forth. So, and then you can also start to even collaborate on contacts. So for example, I'm going to show one of our top users on the screen. I can see Rand is top user. It already pulled in his office number and information. And across the team, I can now even see all of the different conversations that my team has had overall. And I can start to see even across my entire team who was most recently in touch with them. So that's kind of a real core part of the system. And most companies, they probably try and use a big CRM like Salesforce or HighRise, and we're compatible with those too. But what if you had a system that didn't require you entering all this information, that really looked at your existing communication, just plugged in your email, and you didn't have to remember to fill out all your contacts or write down a note every time you emailed one of your leads? What if it was already pulling all the information for you? And so, for example, I can log in on a daily basis and see, all right, for my team, who's been in touch with Ariel the most recently. I can see actually Tony spoke with them on June 8th. And so you start to gain those really, really deep insights. Let's dive into some of the other methods we have into group contacts. So obviously we saw that asking everyone within an organization to group your contacts or identify who your hot leads or cold leads are can be a pretty tedious task. If I ask John, hey John, tell me who your top 2,000 contacts are and what type of contact they are, he would probably say I'll go get a root canal instead. But we make it incredibly easy in a number of different ways. So for example, while I'm writing an email, I can even bucket a contact on the fly. Can we see that? All right, it shows up pretty well there. So I can start to bucket these contacts on the fly. And then one of our most engaging features is we actually even made categorizing contacts fun. And so when people first sign up for the system or on a weekly basis, we tell them, hey, take 2 minutes to prioritize your contacts. And they could go into this interface and drag and drop contacts back and forth. But instead, we actually take them to this little arcade interface that we built out, where we actually where a contact drops down from the top of the screen, and literally I can press a key on my keyboard or click on a bucket, and here I am. I'm providing really useful business information for my company, but I'm actually playing a game. And I mean, we've seen the results of this. We've seen are crazy. We've seen some people within a company sit down and in one night, bucket 2,000 of their contacts. And all of that is, and they're playing a game, but what they're also doing is providing incredibly useful information because they're telling themselves, okay, this is a lead, and Contactually going to make sure that I keep in touch with my leads every 30 days. And this person is an investor. Make sure I keep in touch with all my investors. And while you may be normally focused in your day job of this, that top 1% of your inbox, looking at who's reaching out to you, Contactually can look back further and further and further and start surfacing those relationships that you may have completely forgotten about. And that's kind of some of the real power, really leveraging all the data and all the information in email for yourself, for your team, or for your company to really help drive your business forward.
So maybe they're actually getting it. What's your revenue model?
Yeah, so our revenue model is very straightforward. We charge our users. We have a free price level. And then plans start at around $15 per user per month. And then team plans, based on the size of your company, drop down to around $10 a user per month. So a lot cheaper than the standard installation of Salesforce. So, yeah.
For team settings, do you have privacy controls with all the emails?
Yeah, great question. So obviously, me, I have pretty much every email account connected to Contactually, but I don't want to share, for example, the emails I'm sharing with my mom back and forth. And so, through our bucket system, if you see here, you can choose which groupings of people you share with your company. And then you can also choose, all right, what information about those people do I want to share? So, for example, most of the people, most of the leads, for example, you're interacting with, it's fine if the company sees that overall. But you may want to say the other entrepreneurs you may meet tonight, well, that's none of the company's business, and so you can choose what kinds of information are being shared.
Is there a mobile app?
Coming.
What kind of data migration opportunities do you have? Do you have a way of taking your buckets and moving them into Excel or printing them, or what kind of ways are there?
Great question. So obviously, at any point you can export all of your information to just a normal Excel spreadsheet, and then we're also compatible with a number of different services, and we're adding to this pretty much every week with all the different services. So right now you can port all of your information into Salesforce, Highrise, sync it back to Google Contacts. You can have a group of, say, your investors in Contactually, and then make sure that, okay, also keep this list in MailChimp updated with that. So yeah, I mean, both ways. So, and you can take your data with you at any time.
One more.
Do you work with companies like Constant Contacts and then use some information that they develop?
Yeah, so I mean, so MailChimp is a competitor to Contact, so we're the one. So they integrated with us first, and then we're going to keep integrating with others. So I mean, while we build up this really centralized repository of all of your contacts and all of your information, we also know that information should reside in other places too, and so we do our best to sync all the information back and forth between all these different services. Any other questions? By the way, I think we have no more questions. Myself or Tony, we're here, happy to answer any questions.
So let's give another round of applause to all of the presenters tonight.